Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I had a subscriber ask me in the comments, what do I think about calisthenics? And that would actually make a really good video, so I'm going to talk about that for a bit. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Alright, calisthenics is basically kind of a broad category talking about body weight type exercises, dips, chin-ups, push-ups, planks, sit-ups, crunches, things like that. Those are generally things that are calisthenics. And yeah, there are workouts out there that focus on it. But I think it's a little over the top for people to base their entirety of their training around calisthenics, particularly if they exclusively use their body weight. And the reason I say that is because, well, calisthenics themselves, a lot of the movements themselves are actually really, really good exercises. And a lot of people can build a fair amount of strength, a fair amount of musculature and everything purely doing them with their body weight. But they are limited in regards to resistance. And here's where it gets counterintuitive. We know that progressive overload is the key to gaining strength, to gaining muscle, to making improvements. We know that. That has been documented for thousands of years. We have articles discussing this stuff from over 2,000 years ago. That's how long the human species has known this. We've known this for a really long time, and modern exercise science confirms it. Progressive overload is required to make progress, and at a certain point, if you're taking an exercise like this, if you're not able to add weight to it, you're going to have to gain body weight. And here's the problem with using exclusively your body weight. Eventually, most people who go do this stuff to get in shape, unless they started really skinny, are possibly going to be losing weight. If you're losing weight, the exercises get easier. So unless you're willing to continually gain weight in bulk, which is going to be, again, kind of eventually that's going to get counterproductive to getting into better shape, you're forced to do more reps and more volume. And eventually you get to a point to where on some of these exercises you could find yourself doing 50 to 100 of them every single day, just trying to get enough resistance to make any improvement. That's obviously when you're getting to that point where if you're exceeding more than 50 reps on any exercise a day at this point, it is just simply too light. You don't have enough resistance. I don't care whether it's a push-up or chin-ups. And now people who can do 50 plus chin-ups in a day is pretty good. That's pretty impressive. They might have as much strength and size in their biceps and lats as they might ever want. But you guys do get the idea. To continually improve, you have to find a way to add resistance. But that's where the case of adding weight to calisthenics and bodyweight exercises really can be fantastic. But if you're talking about doing it exclusively with your body weight, you're going to run into problems, particularly things like push-ups, things like squats. Most people on a push-up, it's actually much easier than bench pressing your own body weight. It's about half as easy because it's about half the resistance. About half of your body weight gets pressed on a push-up. And it puts certain strain on the wrists that aren't there with other exercises. So something like a push-up, if you were to do that a lot, you're eventually going to find that cranking out 20 push-ups with extra weight thrown on your back is going to get easy at a certain point. It's just too easy of an exercise to really be effective unless you're doing 1,000 of them in a day eventually. And again, at a certain threshold, you're just not gaining strength or muscle or anything else from doing it. Same thing with bodyweight squats. Like for me, I expect people to be able to do 300 plus pounds within 1 year on my novice program with a barbell squat, throwing on their back, going all the way down, right? That's my expectation. So if you're only using your body weight, it's pretty clear that at a certain point, it almost just becomes cardio. Someone who's starting out doing a bodyweight squat who that's a struggle for them, that is progress, but eventually they're going to get to be able to do 20, 30, 50. And at that point, it just becomes kind of silly to do them with just your body weight. You're going to get a lot more out of these things if you're able to add resistance. But at the core of it, there's the interesting thing with calisthenics. What's one of the most interesting points with calisthenics are exercises that move your body through space. Even just a bodyweight squat, doesn't it move your body through space? Chin-ups, dips, push-ups. Some of the best exercises known to man. Dips, chin-ups, squats, those are all calisthenic movements, yet they are known for helping people get extremely strong, building a lot of muscle mass, a lot of power. Everything else can be done with these exercises. They've historically been known to do this. And the interesting thing is that any exercise that moves the body through space, there is the potential for it to have some extra benefits that don't always get weighed in when we think in terms of direct muscle tension. A lot of this remains hypothetical, But the Russians felt all during the Cold War, and they spent millions and millions of dollars during the Cold War trying to make better athletes. They had determined that any exercises that move the body through space seemed to give a slightly better response in their athletes. So in other words, when they started realizing this, they determined it wasn't just a resistance move, but the fact that when the body was moved through space, there seemed to be a slightly different training response, a slightly superior training response. And I think anyone out there who does any of these exercises where you move your body through space and has done a lot of them realizes they actually work really well. Again, chin-ups, dips, squats. And when we start adding resistance to these exercises by adding weights, adding a barbell to your back, adding plates around a chain around your waist where you can hang plates and hang weights to do chin-ups, dips, things like that, they work extremely well, don't they? You can get very big, very strong, and they're full body exercises. They involve your core, they involve large amounts of different stabilizers in the body, and they seem to have a radiant effect into other muscles that aren't the primary movers. It still causes additional stimulation of a variety of muscles, like secondary stimulation. They tend to be very, very good at that. These are superior exercises. So if someone were to say, is calisthenics good? Sure they are for beginners. Most of it's really good for beginners for starting out. But a lot of these exercises really come into their own when you take this same exercise, calisthenic movement that moves your body, involves large amounts of muscles in your body, and you start finding ways to add resistance to them and add progressive overload. That is kind of your next level with something like that, and it works very, very well. And again, if we're talking about just general resistance training for people who want to get stronger, people who want to get faster, people who want to gain muscle, improve their musculature, body weight type exercises are fantastic for that, and they work even better when you get strong enough to find ways to add extra weight to your body to add resistance. They work extremely well. And these are always going to be mainstays for athletes, and professional level athletes, elite level athletes at the world level rely heavily on these exercises, and they have for a very long time because we know they work. They work. So kind of the question becomes, what do I think of calisthenics? Well, are we talking about never adding resistance? Then no, I really can't get behind that. There's a few calisthenics movements that you could probably continue to progress on indefinitely, like chin-ups and pull-ups, maybe glute ham raises without adding weight, but you're going to get better results to those exercises in the long term if you do start adding weight to them eventually. You'll get better results, you'll get faster results. But the exercises themselves, most of these calisthenic movements are very good movements. They're extremely effective strength building and muscle building exercises through the entire body. Because by the very nature of them, because they're forcing you to move your body through space against resistance, they tend to recruit very large numbers of muscles through the body. A lot of muscle fiber recruitment happens, but to maximize on that, you do need to find a way to add progressive overload and add resistance, and that's how you really get the most out of them. So I would never advise anyone to just do calisthenics, and the question I would ask for someone who says, well, couldn't I do that? It's like, you could, but why would you? There's nothing wrong with the movements. A lot of them are very, very good exercises, amazing exercises, really. But why would you limit yourself to just your body weight instead of saying, okay, but I can add more resistance to these and I can get better faster? And that is, it's time proven, it's understood. So anyone who's trying to sell you just calisthenics is trying to sell you some sort of trendy nonsense. They're not looking out for your best results. But if someone is telling you that most of these calisthenics movements are really, really good exercises, they're really good movement patterns for you to learn and work on, that most of them really are. They are fantastic. And they're great for people who are seeking just improved athleticism and fitness. But if you want the best of both worlds, you really do need to find a way to add resistance to them over time so that you can continue to get stronger from them. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.